you. So what we are talking about on Turning Messaging to Magic is a lot of the ways that you can differentiate yourself, regardless of
Mhm.
your business, whether you're a product-based business, whether you're a service-based business, whether you're like not even sure how to label yourself, whether you're an experienced marketer, whether you're just like totally overwhelmed by all the things. And I know that overwhelm is something that you are really good at helping people solve. So why don't you dive in, introduce yourself, tell us about your business and what you do, and we will continue moving forward.
All right. Thank you for having me, Erin. I am a social media strategist and a social media manager specializing in working with introverted copywriters. And the reason I picked this niche is number one, uh, copywriters tend to know a lot of things because we tend to learn a lot of things. Because as we write for different clients, for different niches, we are always curious. We learn, we read, and we are constantly expanding what we know. And what I have found is compared to all other industries, copywriters also tend to be thought leaders. I haven't met a single copywriter who I haven't spoken to who have their own unique way of saying things, of working, of setting up processes, of delivering value to their clients. But when it comes to social media, what I have found is everybody tends to buy the same templates, the same packs, and the same thing. And all of the content often ends up sounding very similar to the post that
Mhm.
you see on social, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Why do you think that is?
uh, I think a lot of what we're learning about social media marketing is ideas and strategies that are being targeted towards marketing led companies like course creators and others who depend on a lot of traffic coming their way for their businesses to grow, right? A course creator needs 100 people to sign up for their webinar. They need, of that, because only 20% will attend, maybe 3% will buy, so maybe they end up selling two courses. So they need to attract 100 people. So their whole focus is churning out high quality, high quantity of content, right? So they talk about things like content pillars. They talk about, okay, batching and create like um, 1 month's worth of content in 1 hour. And like, can you
I feel
imagine?
seen.
Like, and that's really, and you feel seen because I'm talking about me. I'm talking about everything that I have done. I'm not talking about some fictional copywriter. I'm talking about all the things that I did. I bought templates. I bought copy. I bought social media memberships, and I tried to buy these templates, caption templates, and write from them. So what happens then is you try to change your personality, your message to fit into those templates. Because this is what you feel like you need to talk about, right? And when I talk to copywriters, when I ask this question, what is stopping you from showing up on social media? There are two things that people say. Number one is like, I don't know how to keep coming up with a lot of content. I don't want to sound like a fool, right? I want to sound,
Yeah.
right?
I want to
I,
sound
I
like
don't,
me. I want to sound like
yeah,
me, and I still want to
yeah.
deliver value.
Exactly. And I don't want anybody to say that, that's the imposter syndrome. I don't want other people to think like I don't know what I'm talking about. Because we feel this pressure because I have to keep coming up with content day after day. And then I'm gonna run out of smart things to say.
Well, and I
Right?
think the other side of that, like, and I have taught how to write copy in an hour for a month worth of social media, but it's
Mhm,
all, it's like everyone's own words. It's just about the ideation. So what's
mhm.
really interesting to me is, yeah, people, I think, sorry, I started, here I go. This is my typical brain passage, is it's like from here to here and with a, like, a stop
Yeah,
over here in the
like a life
transatlantic.
tangent.
Um, but I think the other side of it is, like, there's so many other people who know more than this. They're gonna
Mhm,
see that,
mhm,
um, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, or they're gonna argue with me, or they're gonna disagree
mhm.
with me, and
Yeah,
then people aren't gonna trust me. And
yeah.
I think that's couldn't be further from the truth. Like,
Exactly. It can't be if by that logic the only people who should be posting content are your Steve Wozniaks and your Michael Dell, and they're the only people who have the authority to create content. Then nobody
yeah,
else should, right? Because creating content, what we forget is we come from the mentality that we need to impress. right? We need to show up as the best. We need to show up a certain way. And again, all of this goes back to the bad advice we're getting that this is how you need to show up on social, right? And for service providers, I'm telling you, you need not. That is not at all the advice you need to follow. In fact, for service providers, copywriters, you don't need 100 people. You don't need 100 people every month to sign on to your list to be extremely profitable. You need
Right.
10 people. You need 10 people who can consistently refer clients to you, right? That's all you need. You need to run like a six-figure, like even a seven-figure business. You see
Certainly
A-list
like mid six
copywriters,
figures. Yeah. If you have, because then it snowballs when you do a really
right?
good job for one person and 10
Right.
people and 100 people, and all of a sudden you're booked out beyond
Yep.
belief.
Yep. I have clients, their post gets 2 likes and maybe one comment or whatever. And since they started and they just started posting on social with me, and since they've started, I have a client who've booked meetings with KPMG and Google, and they've landed projects there. And I've had a client who went from like who doubled her revenue. She just hit six figures and she doubled her revenue. And her posts don't get a ton of traction because you don't need a ton of traction. That's where it comes from. What you need to do is show up as yourself. And that is an introvert's worst nightmare. I don't want
Yes,
to
it
be
is.
myself on social.
And I think there's something to be said for putting yourself out there. Um, I mean, a lot of what I like is sort of this live aspect because
Mhm.
there's no overthinking it. There's
Yep.
no stopping because it's
Yep.
like whatever it is, it's already out there for better, for worse, for
Yep.
ugly, for
Yep.
bad hair days, for
Exactly.
good hair days. Like it's out
Exactly.
there. And
Exactly.
but hopping over that hump. So how do you help people overcome that
Oh,
fear?
that is the easiest part for copywriters. So when I say show up as who you are, you don't have to share what you're not comfortable. And here's how I show up as myself. So I show up, and here's what I tell my clients to share, right? So one of the things we do to establish our expertise is we post these how to post. This is how you craft a good headline. This is how you craft a good email. This is how you create a good story. But think about the people you're trying to attract, your clients. They are not interested in learning how to write good headlines. They're not interested in learning how to craft good stories. They want to know, number one, can I trust this person? Is this person trustworthy? Right? Number two, have they do they understand my business, my needs, and my industry? That's the second thing they want to know. And for both of these things, you don't need to show anything that you're not comfortable with. To show that number one, you are trustworthy, you need to consistently show up. That's it. The more you show up, the more people are going to trust you because they see you constantly on here in a public forum on the platform. So they know you're a professional, you've been around for a while, and they can trust you. You become a brand.
Yeah, and so I love what you said there because I have seen over the last 3 years of being in the online business world, I have seen people who have been consistently showing up, but it's like every 3 to 4 months they change what they're doing. So there's someone who went from a business coach to a travel agent to
Mm,
I don't even remember what, but there's been 3 or 4 things, and it's like, how do I
yeah.
trust this person that they know what they're doing
Yep.
if they can't choose a thing and stick with it? And so I don't think that means that you can't pivot, but I
No.
I I think there's a lot of merit to giving something a good test, like the good old
Yes.
college try.
Yes, exactly. And it's a lot easier to test it on social than to build a fancy, costly website and funnels and invest in all of those things before you've even tested it all out on social. So that's a great place to do it. So that's just where you need to start. So that's number one, show up consistently. Number two, that your client wants to know, do you understand that? Right? Do you understand my needs? Have you worked on projects similar to mine? Do you know what I want? Do you understand my market? If you're going to write for me, do you understand my clients? Right? To show that, you can show similar projects that you've worked with, certifications you're taking, and you can speak in their language.
Mhm.
Right? And most importantly, here's an insider tip: use jargon that only your clients understand. And when they see that, they
Which is
will
like the
love it.
ultimate copywriter thing, right? Like that is so for anyone who's not
Exactly.
a copywriter, we preach this day in, day out. Don't use your
Yep.
jargon, use your client's jargon. But
Yep.
in our own marketing, it's so easy to fall into that trap, like so many
Yep.
of our traps.
Yep. Exactly. And if you can speak the insider's language, again, it also builds trust. So that is the two things the third thing they want to know is, should I work with this person? Are you a good fit for me? Right? Should I work with you? And you can show that by sharing your values. You don't have to share your kids, your house, your daily life. You don't have to share that. You have to share what values are important to you. Do you like being micromanaged? Do you want some, or do you value independence? Are you opinionated, as in you bring things to your table and you challenge your clients? Maybe some people want that. Or are you somebody who's maybe there's a client who needs somebody who can very strictly follow directions, right? Maybe that's what they need, and is this something you're good at? So you need to define what values are important to you, and the clients need to see that, yeah, if these are her values, if these are their ways of working, then that's going to be a good fit for me. Right? That
Awesome.
again, that is comfortable. This is something you constantly do on a sales call, and that's all you need to do on social.
Yeah. So when you're working with someone, I have all
Mhm,
these questions for you.
mhm,
And I've worked with you in the past too. So I have a little bit, and I want to continue. That's actually something that we need to talk about when we talk tomorrow. Because I have hired a Sai myself, for anyone who is wondering what it's like. She is amazing to work with. She
mhm,
has a quick call. She makes it straightforward, and she said, "Here's what we're going to do," and then she does it. And what I walked away with, and we can talk more about how your business model is changing, but was done for you content that I could tweak a little bit to feel like it felt like totally authentic. But she pulled out some things that I didn't even think. I think of some things that I say as an aside,
yeah,
and I don't necessarily see the value. And she's like, "No, this is really important. You need to be
yep,
talking about this."
yep, yep,
So, but she makes it like ready to go in a package. So literally all you have to do is schedule it or hand it over to your VA, and your team may be doing some of that now as well. But
mhm,
um all I had to do was show up and say, "Yep, I like this," which, as someone who's used to working in the trenches, so to speak, like, having that done is amazing, like, so amazing, because it takes this load of pressure off. And clearly I'm not that shy, but, like, I still have, um, I don't know what like, imposter syndrome isn't quite right, but this fear and anxiety around
mm.
this, what if they don't like me?
And it's extremely valid to have that fear, like there's no shame in that. You are risking quite a bit putting yourself out there. And that risk does come with it's a very, very real threat, right? You could attract haters, you could attract people who are going to say bad things about you. And that's going to happen, not when you're maybe starting out, but as you grow, as your business grows, as you grow and you become a bigger known brand, you are going to attract people who, for no reason at all, are going to attack you personally, very, very personally, exactly where it hurts. But the thing is, you don't even have to get that big. I know a
And
ton
you
of
probably
copywriters.
have a great tribe of people too who you can say, "Someone was mean to me," and they will go out and they will, like, turn everything around, like an army of people on Team You. So tell me a little
Exactly.
bit more about what your process looks like. What do your services look like today?
So, what we specialize in is turning a 30-minute Zoom conversation into 2 weeks of content. So, exactly as Erin described, a lot of copywriters that I work with, they have so many amazing things to say, but somehow they feel like, okay, maybe this is not so amazing. It's not so amazing because these thoughts are constantly in your head. But for somebody who hears them, like, who hears you speak them, we can see the value and what is going to work on social media, right? So, what it looks like is we send you a prep sheet to sort of get you start thinking about what you want to say. And then we have a conversation and we turn that conversation to a social media post and we give it to you because copywriters, we are very, very pedantic about this. We edit no matter who wrote it. I'm sure, like, even if A-lister copywriters wrote copy for you, you're still going to take it and tweak it because that's just who we are. So we're going to make those tweaks a little bit, and it takes time, right? Learning voice and all of that is a process. So you tweak it a little bit and you can send it back to us for my team to schedule and track metrics. and report that to you. Or you can give it to you can do it yourself. You can give it to your team. We'll give you hashtags and all of it. Like Erin said, it comes in a box. You just take it, plug it in, and you're good to go. And
Yes.
that's what we do. And if you
You're
don't
really
want to
good
talk,
at it.
yeah, thank
Um,
you. Because it was a lot of trial and error to get here, right? So if you don't want to do conversations, we actually also turn blog posts and podcasts. Podcasts, we love podcasts. That is just so much stuff in there. We can
Well, and I
turn
think there's
all
something
those
really
into
cool about having the interview, especially when
mm,
someone's like, wait, let's pause, let's talk about that. And again,
yeah,
it's calling attention to this thing that you didn't even think was that cool.
yeah.
On the podcast I recently appeared on, people glommed onto this thing. I'm like, oh, that's just what I do. And they're like, no, like, seriously? I can't believe you do that. So it's just funny to me.
Yeah, and if you haven't heard it, the podcast interview, Erin's podcast just came out recently with the think tank. You should listen to it. It's amazing. I'm halfway through and it's like blowing my mind. So I highly recommend you download that and add
Oh,
it to your like your
well,
post lunch walk or your gaming walk,
so
whatever that is.
I sat down to watch it last night, and what really struck me, the irony is that I said, maybe it's not an irony. I didn't realize how much I talk about mindset, but I mentioned it like, I don't know, at least 6 times on there. And I kept listening and like, oh my gosh, mindset, 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 mindset.
Yeah, that's very, very important, right? It's the mindset that's going to define how much you push yourself and how much you and what you do. Uh, and this is what I tell, and especially copywriters right at the beginning, they think they need all of these bells and whistles to start their business and do well. You don't need all of that. You don't need something fantastic. You don't need big stuff. I would say get started on social media, start posting content, get started, and when you are ready for a website, write your own content. You have Whomp Whomp to Wow, which is literally Erin gives you like plug and play everything you need. Take that, build one page website, just launch that, and as you pivot, you can update it because you're gonna have those all of those details and all the frameworks with you for life, and you can update it as you pivot and get started. It's the mindset. Like, do not wait. Uh, like for anything to stop you from taking that action and moving forward, because success is going to come the more consistently you show up. And it's not about showing up to a bunch of random strangers. The more you show up to your community, to your tribe, the more people are going to trust you and the more people are going to send you referrals. They're going to send business your way, and that's how you get started, and that's what you need to focus on.
Well, thank you for saying that about Womp Womp, first of all, but I agree with you. It's not about being perfect or amazing or groundbreaking. It's about being real and authentic
Yep.
and putting something out there that people can react to, having something, even if your quote unquote funnel is literally send me an email and people send you an email, that's okay. And it is a funnel. I mean, that really is a funnel. I had a
Yes.
client one time who was like, well, my business isn't really set up for a funnel. And I'm like, but you take customers, right? And I'm like, so you have a customer journey, that's your funnel. And he said, oh,
Yep.
okay. So, I mean, it was just, it's funny the way that we think about things, but funnels is literally a call to action and then something. And
Yep.
you can add to it along the way. But going back to what you said about Womp Womp, first of all, thank you. If anyone has not heard me talk about Womp Womp yet, it's a 21-day copywriting course designed to help you get out of your head. There's that mindset piece again.
Yes.
And so you can actually get something onto paper that is good enough to put out into the world. And you can always polish it and tweak it. And in fact, you will. It's just a matter of life. You may tweak it the day you go live. But what I really want to go back to, and all of these links will be posted in the comments here
Mhm.
when we wrap today. But I want to talk more about you again, because you have had like this rock star trajectory. Like it's really like a rocket launch from
Yep.
when we first started working together, like back in, I think it was September, to
Yeah.
where things are right now. And you don't have
Yeah.
to share numbers if you don't want to, but you have more than like 10x things,
Yep.
which in 4 months is a dream come true for
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
me, for anyone that I speak with. So can you talk a little bit about what you did and how that worked
Mhm.
for you?
So number one, while my actual growth started in September, the seeds for it, I've been laying down the seeds for it from the beginning of the year. And I had to make a lot of sacrifices. And I don't want anybody to think that this kind of growth comes without pain. It comes with a lot of pain. right? A lot of times I prefer slow growth, and I'm always pushing for slow growth, which is why anytime you see my sales would be like, it'll go this way and then it'll peter out for a really long time and then go this way, because I stop, because I don't want to keep growing really fast, because I'm a service provider. Service does not scale the way courses do, right? I need to make
Right.
sure that I have the capacity and I'm delivering at the level that I want to for my clients. And I take my pedal off of that. But all of this, again, it was very, very intentional. None of this happened by accident. It was very well thought of. I just didn't expect it to work this well, because clearly I have a ton of mindset issues to work through as well. And I didn't expect it to be this successful, because I was testing like a brand new framework. And I'm glad you mentioned funnels before this, Erin, because I believe your funnel doesn't start from when someone says they're interested in buying from you. Your funnel starts with the moment somebody meets you.
Yeah.
Somebody knows who you are. And which is why I don't believe in content pillars. I create for my clients and for myself what is known as content funnels, right? Your content, every single piece of content is not a standalone. It is not one piece that like you talk about website one day, and uh, you talk about your favorite restaurant the other day, and it doesn't work like that, right? You're building a house, which means you can't just randomly throw around bricks and like, why don't I have a house? Because you're not being strategic about it, right?
Yeah.
So you need to bring to that as funnel. But even before that, and this is, I think, the most crucial piece most copywriters miss out on, you need to really hone down on what your client attraction strategy is. Most people do not have a strategy. They say, okay, I'm going to post on social media, I'm going to reach out to my past clients, I'm going to send out some pitches, and none of this is aligned to one single strategy. My strategy was very, very simple. I'm going to rely on my referral network.
Yeah.
That's my strategy.
Well, that's how
Your
I've built my
strategy.
business as well. And there's
Exactly.
some outbound that goes out, but for the most part, you're right. It's all about
Exactly.
the network.
Yeah. And it could be your strategy could be cold pitching, and that's fine. And it could be anything, but the rest of the all the other marketing activities that you do has to be aligned towards that strategy. And because my strategy is built on network, building out, supporting my referral engine, all the posts, everything that I do is something that my referral network can share with their friends and say, this is the person I want you to work with for social media. Right. I
Yeah.
talk about my process. I talk about, and I every piece of content I create is directed towards a warm audience who wants to make a decision whether or not they want to hire me because somebody else they trust has recommended.
Well, I think you touched on something there that I want to call attention to. And it's that it's a warm audience already. So if you see people saying, I sent one email and made six figures, and it's like, that
That,
email was the tipping point. That
yep,
was the straw that it didn't break the camel's back, but it
it
pushed
tipped over,
people who are
right?
already it built the camel's back. Maybe we'll say that.
Yeah.
That was the top of the camel's back. But
Yeah.
it's because of all the other things that someone has been
Mhm.
doing right to
Yep.
nurture and create that warm audience
Yep.
and create a demand for what they're doing.
Yep.
It's not one email. It's
Yep.
probably about at least 30
Yes.
and a whole lot of hours of getting to know your target market,
Mhm.
creating this offer. And I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions out there and one of the snake oily feels of a lot of
Mhm.
the online marketing world is it's not
Yeah.
this one secret. The
Yep.
secret is showing up strategically. So I just wanted to
That's it.
call attention to that because
That's it.
I think yeah, that we can
Yeah.
talk for hours, literally. We have and we will again. But yeah, I think that's really an interesting insight there. Um, I also we're running a little bit low on time. So I know that you are building towards something right now.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that we call attention to that. So please,
Okay.
please.
Uh, so I know a lot of copywriters who do not have the means to hire a social media manager yet, because there's a lot that constantly changes on social media platforms. We don't know what to do on what's changing on IG, what's changing in LinkedIn, how many hashtags should I use? Should I use 30? Should I use 3? Where should I put the link? Now, all of that is constantly changing. And more importantly, what do I write? Right. So we are creating, I'm we are working towards a membership that is exclusively for copywriters. It is a done with you membership where we do all of the strategy, we do everything that is not in your area of expertise, and then we tell you exactly what to write. And the idea is that you spend 3 hours for social media with us, and that is with us. We don't leave you hanging for any part of it. With us, and then we take the caption, we schedule it for you, we track it, and we give you metrics. We help you make decisions, read the metrics, and understand what you should write, and help you stay consistent on social media. So I'm putting out. I will give you the link, Erin, for registering for the wait list because I'm still
Perfect.
building it out. I'm not, we're not sure what it is going to look like yet, but the goal is very, very clear. Help copywriters get consistent on social media and get them, support them in everything they need, and let them do only what they need best. So we are working it out. And if you get on the wait list, you get to co-create it with me, and you get to sign on for the lowest ever price that we will launch it at, because it's going to have a ton of one-on-one support as well. So it is not an alternative to templates. It's an alternative to a social media manager, an alternative to OBA. But given that, we're going to launch it to a very limited, we're going to launch a very limited number of seats to the people who are just on the wait list. So if that is something you're interested in and you're open to giving me feedback and ideas on what we can build into that, please join in the wait list. And I'm really excited about launching that.
I'm really excited as well. And as soon as you send me the link, I will be on your wait list.
Thank
And
you.
in our last 2 minutes, we're going to go a little over. I would love to also know first, where can people go to find you? And go ahead and tell us, and then I'll include it in the link if they want to
Mhm.
follow you or get more information on what you do.
Perfect. So LinkedIn is my favorite platform. That's where I hang out the most. That's where I have most of my conversations. And you can learn more about what you do visiting my profile. So that's the number one place to visit me. I will put the link, I will give the link to Erin. But if you prefer Instagram, that's my second favorite platform. I'm on there a lot as well. I stalk all my favorite copywriters on there. So you can find me at elysian.in on Instagram. That's on Instagram, and on LinkedIn, it's Isayarasi, which is my name. And I will pop in all the links there so you can follow me. But one of the things we're going to be doing is we're thinking about doing, we created 21 pieces of content from one podcast. Now we're thinking about doing something more ambitious, and we're trying to create 51 pieces of content from my think tank podcast that just came out. So we're working towards that. So soon I'll tell you that follow me anywhere. My content is going to be, I'm going to be everywhere. And our goal is to do that without burning out and doing it efficiently. So we can tell people, hey, I can do it. You can do it too.
I think that's the key, is being everywhere without spending hours and hours a day showing up
Exactly.
everywhere. Yes.
Exactly.
Well, Sai, thank you so much for joining me today. I have loved our conversation. So much of the time on Turning Messaging into Magic, it's me talking, and I end up like ending things at about 10 to 15 minutes. So this has been amazing to have you here and to learn from you. And yeah, all of the links that Asai mentioned will go into the comments after we're through here. If you have questions for her, you can tag her, and I'll also make sure that she gets to see them. So thank you
Perfect.
again. Have a wonderful
Thank-
Wednesday. And tomorrow I'm going to be back with Nicole Morton. So we
I'm
will.
looking forward to that one quite a bit.
Me too. Nicole's always a treat, as are you. So we will be back tomorrow. Have a great day.
You too. Thank